Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt. Ronnie Suarez is here with us, and you're on KLUP 930 AM, 630 KSLR, KNTH 1070 in Houston, and 103.3 FM in Houston also. Facebook Live, YouTube, podcasts everywhere, and talklawradio.com. I'm Todd Marquardt, and joining us today on Talk Law Radio is Ronnie Suarez and George Torres, who are going to be wearing the fancy uniform for Ray Feo. They're members of the Ray Feo Consejo. See,
Educational Foundation.
I'm a gringo. Spanish wasn't my first language. Educational Foundation from the legendary Ugly King tradition.
Correct.
To raise millions for college scholarships for San Antonio high school seniors. You'll hear how this historic organization blends fiesta culture with real community impact. But first, let's check in with the financial focus with Steve Warren with Financial Planning HQ. Steve and his sons are true financial planners. They don't sell investments or insurance. They just provide a planning service that helps financially successful people reach their financial goals with less time and stress. So their successful clients can do what they really want to do without having to deal with money managers, lawyers, and CPAs who don't communicate well with one another. Steve, welcome back to the show.
Great to be here, Todd. Thank you.
Was that an accurate explanation of an intro for you?
Yeah, since we've been doing this for a couple of months now, you're starting to get it, so I appreciate that.
Steve, last week we ended with a question. We ended with a description of what a meeting is like with you, an initial meeting. And we also talked about the 5 planning domains: tax, legal, wealth management, financial planning, and risk planning. And you gave our audience some insights into the importance of having a written financial plan. But can we talk about money management today?
Yeah, absolutely. But first, I'd like to encourage your audience to go to your YouTube channel, Talk Law Radio, and listen to the last 2 financial focus segments that were on April 4th and 11th, because one segment builds on the other, and I think it'll help your audience just to have more context to what I'm going to talk about today. So, yeah, so your question had to do with money management, and let's talk about that.
What should our audience ask their financial advisors about money management?
The first thing they should ask is whether or not they have an investment policy statement. And it's a formal strategic document that it serves as a roadmap or a business plan, if you will, for managing an investment portfolio. And it outlines the investor's goals, strategies, and the specific rules that must be followed by those that are managing the money, the portfolio managers, or financial advisors.
What if there's no written IPS, as you abbreviate?
Your audience deserves one, Todd. I would say in most cases there isn't something that's written. There isn't a written investment policy statement. But it probably means that your financial advisor has never provided you with a comprehensive written lifetime financial strategy. And so if you think back about when you first started your relationship with your current advisor, it's possible that you filled out a risk tolerance questionnaire. And then from there, the advisor helped you to organize a portfolio and gave you some stocks, some fixed income, maybe some real assets in the portfolio. And there's just much more to it than that. So if it was a form, then I wouldn't be surprised, as far as why there isn't an investment policy statement. But, there's no textbook answer for everybody. It's everybody is different, so just like a custom suit, it's not one size fits all. And so there's a big difference between filling out a risk tolerance questionnaire and actually having an investment policy statement that is written. And within that statement, one of the most important features would be for a person to know what their hurdle rate is. And hurdle rate is the rate of return that you have to get after taxes, after fees, net of fees, taxation and inflation. So it's the rate of return that you have to get in order to realize your financial goals. And so if there aren't written goals and there's no hurdle rate, you're just investing money. It's just wealth management. And
right.
It doesn't have a purpose.
Well, can you explain the term hurdle rate in more detail?
Yeah, so the hurdle rate, if we relate it to an actual comprehensive written lifetime financial strategy, it would be the rate of return that you would need net of fees and taxation and inflation in order to reach your financial objectives, which the client, tells us what those are.
Right. And so if our financial advisor isn't talking to us about our hurdle rate, what should they do?
Well, they should give me a call for one thing and maybe be exposed to a different way of doing things. And my name is Steve Warren, and I can be reached at 210-685-2722.
What's another great question that we should be asking our financial advisor?
One of the things that I find out from a lot of people is that they have no clue as to what they're paying in fees. So that's probably a good question to ask. And so what exactly am I paying in dollars and cents, not just a percentage. So, think about this to your audience out there. If you actually wrote a check to your financial advisor, like we do to the IRS, right? We're just past tax time here.
Mm-hmm.
But if you actually wrote a check to your financial advisor once a quarter, because fees are typically taken out once a quarter, and you actually wrote the check for $8,000 every quarter, then you would know. But most people just don't know. And I think your audience deserves to know what they're paying. And that way they can think about, well, what am I getting for what I'm paying? Is it just wealth management? Because
usually the fee just comes out of their investments and they don't see it clearly.
Yeah. And, if your audience actually wrote the check, instead of having it come out like that, then that would lead us towards, well, what's the real return that I'm getting on my, because I'm sure your audience goes in for performance reviews and they look at a return, but what is the real return net of fees and taxation and inflation? What's the real number?
Well, some of those statements are confusing and difficult to figure out. Could they bring their statements to you and ask you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we handle client statements with finesse, and we're able to take a look at them and determine, what they're paying in fees and do forensic accounting.
And if they want that, how can they reach you?
Give me a call at 210-685-2722.
I have a surprise question for you, Steve.
Super fantastic.
I'm going to the Berkshire Hathaway shareholder meeting in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger were famous for taking questions from the audience of shareholders. If you had a question to ask the new CEO, Greg Abel, what would you ask?
Gosh, I guess I would want to know what kind of insight that his particular firm has as far as where the market is going, not necessarily based on where it's been, but there's so many things that we can't control, like the war that's going on and taxation. There's a lot of things out of our control, but for those things that you can control, how do you guys foresee the market moving forward based on economic data and things that about lobbyists, at the White House, all these different factors that come into play.
Yeah.
Interest rates, the Fed, all this stuff.
It's fun to watch. It's also on TV, CNBC, so you should check that out. But this is the first year that Warren Buffett's not CEO. He stepped down last year. He's still going to be chairman of the board, but Greg Abel is going to be the CEO. And so I'm really excited to see what's changed.
Yeah. Well, hopefully nothing's changed because he was so successful for so long.
Yeah, and that's what he did say in the shareholder letter.
Yeah.
But it's just fun to see all the other investors, and they have this big stadium filled with all of the companies that are pieces of his company. He owns all these other companies like Geico and Fruit of the Loom, and I like to get souvenirs that have some catchy phrase or photo of Warren Buffett on it.
I know he's really big in property and casualty. You know, Todd, I was just thinking about one thing. I'm thinking about a particular client because you mentioned planning domains. And I audited a client's a couple of days ago tax return and their partnership return. And I was able to uncover an additional $4,000 in a tax refund. And so we do that sort of thing all the time because we provide oversight to a large degree. So anyone in the audience, if you'd like to give me a call, Steve Warren at 210-685-2722.
Thank you for the financial focus. We got to take a break. We'll be right back with Ronnie Suarez and George Torres with the Ray Feo Consejo?
The Ray Feo Consejo Educational Foundation.
Awesome.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Most families don't realize they have hidden legal blind spots until it's too late. Wills, trusts, Medicaid planning, even protecting a business. These are the kinds of issues attorney Todd Marquardt helps uncover before they become problems. Todd is the host of Talk Law Radio, where each week he guides listeners through the legal challenges families, veterans, and business owners face, while showing them the practical steps to protect what matters most. Catch Talk Law Radio, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, 6:30 a.m. The Word, and now in Houston on AM 1070 and 103.3 FM The Answer, or anytime on YouTube. Planning isn't just about documents. It's about peace of mind, security for loved ones, and building a legacy that lasts. Don't wait for a crisis. Do it before you die.